Is your microphone on, Madam Mayor?
Here it is. Sorry. Pastor Mulberry, could you lead us in the invocation, please?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Father, we give you praise, we give you thanks, and we give you glory. We thank you for a new day. Thank you for how you blessed us to come together again. We pray, God, your blessing to be upon this meeting, this session on this evening, God, that you would be in the midst and be in their presence. Pray, God, even for our commissioners, Tammy McCaskill, and pray, God, that you would continue to bless them, continue to touch them. And Justin Campbell, we ask God for your divine presence to be with them, to help them even in these challenges. We ask God for your directions in this meeting on today. You will guide our hearts and minds, decision makings. We pray for your purpose to be manifested and your glory to be revealed. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Commissioner Jones, could you read the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Krantz.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Is present via telecommunications technology, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner Justin Campbell,
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum,
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All members are accounted for. We have a quorum in the chambers.
Thank you. Would you please read the special call workshop notice?
Yes, ma'am. I've lost count as well. The Commissioners, Tammy McCaskill, Will Jones, Rufus Borum, and Justin Campbell. Your notified special call workshops of the Palatka City Commission are hereby called to be held City Hall 2-1 North Second Street, Palatka, Florida 32177. In that list is August 18, 2023 at 3:30. At the time, it was supposed to be the fourth all city funds budget workshop. Govern yourselves accordingly. Signed, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to public comments. I don't see anybody here from the public, but we're going to do that. Anybody here for public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comments and we're going to move on to the agenda item. Especially the budget presentation.
So Mayor, Commissioners, I'm just going to give kind of a quick update as to where we are and what the process is going to look like over the next week. And then I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Carty. She's going to report to you on where we're sitting with surplus, deficit, and reserve balances. We've got a couple documents that we're using to manage this process. The first two you're aware of, which is the decision unit table. And we're going to continue to use this and strike through those items that are eliminated on the budget. And there's a new notes column. So this will be updated again next week based upon what you asked for last night. The other attachment is the new positions. So we've been going through and striking through those that you've asked us to remove and adding those that you've asked us to add. We'll have that updated early next week. And then the third, which you haven't seen yet, we have been compiling, or Sunny has, thank you, Sunny, compiling our notes and reviewing them against the minutes for all the actionable items that you've asked us to follow up on. Some of these are specific to amending the budget. Some of these are just some homework assignments and some information that you've requested. So we're going to pull that together next week as well, and we'll distribute that to everybody. Right now, we have a complete budget. Ms. Carty and myself still need to go through every line item and every fund and make sure that it balances out and compare that to these three different documents that we're using to manage the process. We will do that early next week. And the hope is to report back to you at next Thursday's meeting and tell you if there were any differences based upon what we report to you today. So before I hand it over to Ms. Carty, are there any questions about that process?
Any questions? No. Go on,
Okay.
thank you.
Ms. Cardy?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, all that are in attendance. Okay, so our primary objective today is to be certain that we have a balanced budget. As of this moment, our budget is balanced. There is, based upon your guidance today, if there are more changes or anything that you need us to consider, we still have room in order to do that. Okay, so if you look at, I try to just treat you all how I treat myself, really. I always look exactly where I am. So therefore, that very first sheet, you pulled it up, lets you know what each fund amount is, so that you're aware that we are in balance for revenues and expenses. So for instance, at this moment, general fund is 19,207,000. Airport is 4,340,000. The TIF is 1,958,000. Water utilities is 26,418,000. Golf is 184,000. Sanitation is 3,753,000. Better Place, primarily because of removing that 7 million and putting it at that 3 million mark, is now 12,627,000, and the American Rescue Plan is 2,193,000. So our total budget for the city as of this moment is 17,685,232. These cents will be gone when we're done. Okay, so we got one cent. Okay. All right, so if we were to move on, I thought we'd just look at it, revenues, look at all the revenues, look at the expenses. And this lets you see the product, the raw product, before I update it or upload it into ADG. Once I put it in the ADG software, then that report that you received previously, that's how it'll come in. Okay, so this is the raw information before going into ADG for budget report format. And we can look from pages 1 through page 1 through 4 is all general fund. So that gives you an opportunity to look at it, review it. You've seen this before, but you have seen it in the other format that ADG produces. And so this is the detail. So quickly we can glance at it and we can see that 2023 budget was 17 million. And for this year's budget, we're at 12 million.
Okay, what sheet are you on now? Are you,
I'm on page 4,
you on this?
revenues. That's revenue.
Okay.
Yes,
Page
sir.
4.
Page 4.
Yep.
Sorry about that. And so pages 1 through 4 gives you the detail for revenues, general fund.
Okay.
And I guess if we were to say, okay, why is there such a significant difference compared to our year? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll have to wait. I'm just gonna put a question later.
Okay. So my first, I was so busy just getting the work done that I would say perhaps some of the grant activity or some of that kind of information, but oh, right, okay, I'm sorry. 19 million, that 12 million was projected. So 19 million, so it's actually 2 million more. That made more sense. I'm looking at. All right, go ahead, sir. Question?
What I was gonna ask you, because I'm.
Yeah, my eyes. I've just been in too long, I'm sorry. Okay, so 005 is the airport. And that starts on page 4. It's ending on page 5. So where it says general there, that's airport. And compared to last year, it's a very slight difference. Last year, the budget was 4,313,276. And this year is 4,340,756. So it's a small difference. On page 4, if you go back one page for airport, you're able to see that transfer from general fund is reducing. So it's been reduced. This prior year was 459,340. And for the fiscal year that we're going to for budget 23-24, that has been reduced. Those 394,000 as airport is starting to gain solvency, even more so. Financial stability or increase. We go back to page 5. So what I'm doing is just trying to make sure you understand how to navigate through the information. The TIF fund. Again, there's a slight increase. 2023 budget, as you can see, is 1,781,841. This year is 1,958,716. Primarily because of the property tax increase, the millage revenues. Water utilities starts on page 5, ends on page 6. This is based upon grant revenues in this particular fund. 2023 prior year budget was 29,054,888. This year is 26,418,000. One of the changes that we did this year in the budgeting, we tried to make sure that you're looking at the budget for the 1 year, the 12 months that starts October and ends September. And if you wanted me to stand up at the podium, I can.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wanted to know. This one.
Okay. And then the golf fund starts at the bottom of page 6. And it's a decrease primarily because of that debt service falling off. So last year, 2023 budget, it was 378,627. And this year, it's a decrease. We're at 184,408.
Got a question
Yes, sir.
on our, isn't the golf, not golf, but the, airport, is it coming off to this year? The airport?
There, yes, it did, my recollection.
Yes, there was about $130,000 payment that rolled off that we don't have to have this year.
So were we doing more? Like, see, I thought we were transferring about the same amount, like wasn't it 300 and something at one
Ms.
point?
Cardy actually
was like
reported that number.
459. If you go to page 4,
Right, I mean,
you see transfer from general, it's 459,000. 340,
It's towards the bottom of the page.
right, and it has gone down to 394,
oh,
470.
yeah, I thought we was transferring 3 something and then it went up quite a bit.
Well, for the budget year that we're currently living in,
Uh-huh.
the transfer amount was 459,000. That's what we're living in this year. Now,
I
for
don't get it, yeah.
right, and so, for the new year, 23-24, it has been decreased. 394,470. When we look at the expenses, for airport, maybe we could see like, what did they go up and what did they go down?
Okay,
And then that will give you further, justification or understanding of, how did they move from that 459 to that 394?
I thought it would drop more than what it is. We'll just I'll look at it later.
So
And
Commissioner,
expenses.
I can actually address
That's
that.
what-
So if you look at your previous document, 2022 transfer was 262,552.
Which one, book?
Yeah, and then in 2023, which was this year, it was projected at the 459. You may recall over the past year, we've added a few positions and we've seen a lot of costs go up.
Okay.
So it was a good year to have the debt roll off. We didn't capture the full 130. But again, as Ms. Cardy stated, we're headed in the right direction. And in addition, Yule's been working to increase revenues out of the airport. So I guess to put it in simple terms, if we're no longer digging ourselves a hole, we're slowly getting out of it.
Okay.
Primarily the repairs. They're starting to do a number of repairs as well.
Yeah.
So going back to page 6. Actually, we're on page 7, I'm sorry. Sanitation fund. So the revenues are projected to increase in sanitation, mainly because also the cost has increased. Last year, the budget was 3,396,584. And this year is 3,753,719. Again, when we look at the expenses, we can see, okay, all right, you see. All right, Better Place, that's where we have our grants. And that's starting on page 7, ending on page 8. Again, with the new way that we're reporting, we're not trying to report grant activity that we're not going to. Yes, sir.
Go back to the sanitation fund,
Okay.
that last line on page 7.
Affordable housing.
That's under the sanitation.
No, it's under Better Place. It's just that,
Sanitation.
you see like where that dark, where the bold is, that ends sanitation.
This is the end of sanitation.
Right, now we're beginning Better Place. That's what I'm saying.
Starts here. Okay.
Okay, so this is gonna be Better Place, that affordable housing. All right,
Yeah, sanitation.
we working so hard, all of us. So, we are now on page 8. And again, the goal today is to make sure that you really understand what you're looking at more, so you can give us some guidance as we finalize the budgeting process. So we're on page 8. So Better Place last year was 18 million. And like I was saying, this year we're trying to tell you like what we're gonna do, we think we can understand for this fiscal year that we're moving towards. So we expect to complete 12 million worth of grants. So if we do more, that's great. And the detail of those 12 million is there. As you instructed last night, we have corrected that loan lease number from being 7 million and it's back to the 3 million as it was in the prior year. And our after balance, we have 2,193,000, and hopefully with our new program manager, we will spend the bulk of that in this coming fiscal year.
We got only 2 million left in the balance. Oh.
Yeah, that's what we're projecting to
I
spend.
go ahead, 8.1.
Okay, I'm just talking about the offer, the balance that we expect to expend in our next fiscal year.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so that was the easy part. And now we're gonna go to expenses, the fun part.
But to answer that question, is that 4,735,000? Is that what was remaining in the ARPA funding? Is that the remaining balance?
I'm sorry, I don't memorize this number because we have,
Page 8,
Yeah, the opera fund totals.
that.
I had given you all, I know where to go. Hold on, I can tell you. Both.
That's a good question.
Almost there.
Well, they can't, I don't think they can be because it wouldn't equal all the money based on what you have.
I should find it.
Page 8.
I'm not. in the-
And because we have some amount that is in encumbered.
More confusing.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.
So one more time, 3,000,000.
3 million, say it again, please.
And that spreadsheet, actually.
That big old spreadsheet. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask her. to do right quick. So the grants department with Jackie, Mandy, Marsha, they work together and they come up with this huge spreadsheet. So at any given moment, we can ask them just like that. And so that's the spreadsheet that Jonathan is going to take at.
When we
And-
transfer money in and out, it's good to know what we have in there before we do all that.
If you want to, if you all would like to go on and continue, we can continue with
Yeah,
the,
that's fine.
can we?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, great. So, page 1 of the expenses, that's starting with the commissioners, and this is my little old fashioned way of doing things. The colors and big print, so I could read it. Okay, commissioners. Page 1, and completing at the top of page 2.
Hold it. Okay.
Understand?
Yep.
Okay, so last year the budget was 361,000. Now you see, I make a new column over here called departmental. So you can have a quick reference. That this year, the commission is at 486, 714.
No. No, that line item that we had linked to discussion
The security,
about the money that was set aside.
That's there. And this is,
Where you see it?
this is in the first page. Special events.
Mhm,
That's not what you're talking about?
mhm.
Okay.
That's salary.
He was talking about what was in the,
Oh, the salary,
that
that's what.
that he's supposed to be bringing back.
Yes. Where is that? 'Cause I don't see it. What's
Oh, right.
special? And because these things be getting omitted. They were there.
can we wait till the city manager come in and address that first? So what is in here for the commissioners is, the COLA, the 5%.
I think it was, the last time we talked about it, it was 9% that we discussing, and Sonny pulling up on the board.
Mm. Last year.
Why they got advertising? Why they got us for advertising?
I can speak to that if you want.
Yes, please.
Hey,
13,275.
Commissioner Borm, this is Sunny. Legal advertising I handle as the city clerk. I do a lot of advertising for the commission meetings. I do a lot of advertising as well for anything that you guys attend together. If you're gonna be at a public meeting where you're gonna be speaking about something that comes before the board, I have to advertise it. I advertise, a big chunk of advertisement that I do for the commission is the annual budget. That
is a few $1,000s just to advertise our budget every year in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I also advertise under the direction of the city manager and the mayor, in the Explorer and the Bartram Frolic and different magazines that the Palatka Daily News puts out on behalf of the city.
On behalf of the city.
Advertising, marketing, we can call. Yeah, on behalf of the city. to promote.
We moved on with the expenses, but they have a question, the commissioners.
Commissioner Jones has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you wanna explain to me? I already asked you, Mr. Carter. Is that again, or what we go?
Referring to, prior year meeting about the 9%, versus the 5% that was paid and what happens with the 4%.
Do we have a choice? Those of us who don't
It
really
was already, yeah.
believe it's appropriate, I don't feel it's appropriate
What's that?
to get a 9% COLA. I don't feel that's appropriate, but that's, what do the employees get?
So what the employees get is a little bit
Mhm.
different. 4% COLA.
I just want to have an idea.
A step in grade.
Right.
Step in grade considered in range anywhere between 4 and 7% depending on salary range. So the commissioners, they're not on a step in grade.
I understand that.
It's just a flat fee. So, I mean, in theory, what the commissioners are budgeted for this year is less than what all the other employees would get. But we can plug in 1%.
That's up to the majority.
Was it already there?
So
Right.
when you look back at the, well, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Because the other commissioners can't hear me. When you say when it was already there, my answer is based upon what I see in the work product, which is the spreadsheet, and it's not in the spreadsheet. We have not looked at the minutes, but we do have that noted as one of the items on here as what was the COLA for the commission in 22-23. So it is an item that we intend to follow up on and look at the minutes. But in the budget spreadsheet, which is what I typically refer to and the finance director refers to as the work product, it was not.
So when we discussed it the other night, we pulled it up, we pulled the minutes up, and it was in there, I think, we saw it. And we didn't completely address it. And I just don't want to leave it open, untied. We're tied down, and if your opinion is your opinion,
No, absolutely.
I'm
that's
saying,
what I'm
everybody.
Yeah, I
so-
agree.
And we're tied down, but that's why we're here, not to leave stuff loose. So let's tie it down. That's what I'm saying, let's do.
And so is the intent to bring it back once you go through this list of items? or
We would really appreciate direction today so we could model it into the budget.
Maybe we need to get some input from the other two commissioners that are zooming. I don't know.
So far, she's telling you to talk in the mic, Mr. Griffith.
Sorry for that, Commissioner.
And I believe Commissioner Campbell hearted the chat.
I'll do better.
So it's an item for this, for us to make a decision on
Right.
it.
I
So
was asking what their input.
why is it a
make
hold up?
decision. Yeah, I'm asking for their input on that decision. Do they want that added or not?
I think it can be added just like the other things that was put in the budget. And if it need to be voted on, it could be voted on, no different than what we did with the
Main Street
Main
manager.
Street manager positions and everything else. So and other things that's in the budget that, so just sit it in there. And if we need to vote on it, we can vote on it and go from there. Because we gotta vote on it anyway.
Right.
So we don't want to start singling one thing out because we can start picking through this thing and
Right.
start slashing a lot of things. Well, let's be fair across the board.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes,
Commissioner Campbell stated, I agree with Commissioner Borum.
okay. I guess they want it added for
Okay.
now at this point. That's the consensus.
I don't do well with hand signals, Sonny.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, would you recap for the minutes? The consensus is to do 9% in the
Okay.
budget?
To add the 9% COLA into the budget at this point in time for the vote in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, to clarify, it's 9% of
I don't,
current pay grade or pay grade, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Guys, I'm so sorry. And I know I should be in the room, but I would like for Jonathan to just recap what he said. And I won't hold anybody else up. Please recap what you said about the 9% in the budget again, Jonathan, before we get to that point of having the vote on it. Can you do a brief recap of what you said about the 9% added in?
Yes, Commissioner
Can
McCaskill, I
you-
think I repeated myself because I realized I wasn't speaking into the mic, but I don't mind saying it again for clarification purposes. So when
I would not,
Commissioner-
Jonathan, if I heard you. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's not a problem. I'll just state it again. Commissioner Jones was asking about, was it included? And I was trying to clarify what we were referring to, be it the minutes or the budget work product. And I referenced that the finance director and myself refer back to the budget workbook, which is the spreadsheet, which includes notes and formulas in it. And we did not see the 9% in there. That doesn't mean that we were not, our staff at the time wasn't directed to include it. So we still had that on one of our follow-up items that we're going to look at next week. But I think we have resolution now. It's going to be included in the current budget at a 9% for commission only. And we're still modeling a 4% COLA plus step and grade merit increases for staff. Is that cleared up?
And then we mentioned at some, yes, and we mentioned at some point that it wasn't more, that we wouldn't be getting. And we wouldn't be getting more than the rest of the staff, right? That our pay wouldn't be so astronomical that it wouldn't reflect that we wouldn't be getting more. We would be getting more than staff would be getting, right? Did we mention that at some point in the conversation?
You just said that.
In the conversation, was it brought up that we would not be getting, it wouldn't reflect that we would be getting like an astronomical raise compared to the rest of the staff? Did I hear that somewhere in the conversation?
Yes, Commissioner, and that's why percentages aren't always the best way to refer to these, because as you know, the commissioners actually make less than, I think, the lowest grade position that we have within our salary schedule. So 9% from a number or monetary standpoint is less than what a typical 4% in step and grade would be for a staff member.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can I go back to ARPA
You can.
now that you have the spreadsheet? So the number that I gave you was a simple calculation from the budget minus the actual expenditures. What we believe the actual unexpended amount to be is closer to 2.5 million. And that's because this budget workbook, when it takes a picture, it doesn't include all encumbered. Maybe there was not some purchase orders put in yet, things that you guys had already approved at a commission meeting. So if you look at that, you've got that encumbered cost column and the balance of the allocated funds. That's basically your unspent amount.
So what is it now?
It's the combination of that 781,000 and 1.7. That's essentially what's not been spent yet.
About 2 million.
We're ready. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So it's put back in for consideration.
Yes, sir.
Right, so continuing on page 2, the interns, that is in there. 2 year. In addition to the 21 thousand projected. Planning and zoning, last year's budget for planning. Okay, so now I'm not able to figure your subtotal for the prior year, but I can at least let you understand what the departmental is for this year. Planning and zoning for this year is 454,000. On page 1. After you give us whatever changes you have, when I do the final print, it will print all of the information that you're accustomed to seeing.
One quick second back on two. On the 2024 budget for the capital outlay. We got, that's still under the commissioners for capital outlay. For 60,000.
You're talking about that 60,000?
Right.
That's, you had instructed us to allocate some funds for security.
Okay, yeah, we need to kind of spell it out, because I just see capital outlay. I just didn't, I mean, yeah, we want to make sure that, I think we should have had something like some kind of descriptor. You know, I just see capital outlay, I need to understand and know, okay.
Hold on now. Security, that's in here, out there.
Yeah, we will
Here.
double
I
check.
think you need to, yeah, it need to be defined. a little bit.
So you gave us a whole list of things to consider.
Right.
It was a combination of security improvements inside this space as well as in the lobby area.
Oh, okay.
So Mr. McMillan has already reached out to a contractor or two, and he's working on a scope and fee to bring back to you. We typically don't do very descriptive capital lines unless it's larger capital projects, because what you'll end up with is a budget book that's double the size in about 3 years, because we carry these lines for a couple of years until there's nothing in them.
Right. Well, the reason I ask is because, sometimes if we do say something, if it's not in there, if we say something, sometime it's in there. So for to be fair, I think we just need to understand, okay, so we know we spoke about it, but if it's gonna be in there and to say, hey, it's been considered, I think we need to understand and know that. As opposed to us seeing it as a capital outlay and not saying anything and know what it is, so just to be.
Are you asking that we just create a separate line that says City Hall security improvements?
I just wrote it in.
I just,
Can.
yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah.
from a standpoint, I guess we just need to understand and know what that means, yes.
Okay.
So that 60,000 is just, having an amount in the budget this year to be certain that some security is done.
Not some security, adequate security.
Adequate.
Adequate. Yeah, we don't just want any security, we want adequate security.
So continuing on page 3. It's starting the detail of cultural arts. For cultural arts, now departmentally, it's 201,000. That's where we are. So this one. On page 4.
Hold on, Ms. Carter.
Okay.
So what about commissioner interns? Is that with the ambassador program or what? That's like 58,000. Phase 2. Back to commissioner.
Back to 2. Okay.
Interns.
Is that the,
Oh, yes, that's, including the additional interns that are paid for year round.
One of the requests at the first budget workshop was to consider, in addition to the seasonal interns, maybe 1 or 2 year-round intern slots. So we're incorporating that into the
and
proposed
that's gonna
budget.
be commissioner intern?
They were interns assigned to different departments.
Yeah, they were gonna
correct?
work with departments. That's how we understood it.
I thought Warren said something different. Didn't you?
What's that one?
It was-
I
yes,
had,
Commissioner Campbell.
well, I had requested, that when we're doing things, Sonny can't keep up with all the stuff that we do in addition to all the other roles that she have with the full-time city clerk, among other things, and then she's trying to help with the interns, with the program intern. But we have things that we do, from an administrative standpoint as well, when we're doing traveling and other things, research.
Yeah.
If we want to do grants or anything else. So we have, city functions among other things. So I don't want to get in a long list of all the things that I know that we're involved in, and I don't think all of that should go on Sunny. So what I had asked for was a, part-time position where it's at least can serve one or two commissioners. And if we need two or three of those positions to serve all five, then that will help. Now, if some commissioners don't want it, that's up to them, but I'm requesting that I need additional help.
Yeah, Commissioner, so we need to make sure that one of these is designated for commissioners,
Yes,
not obligated to go to a department, and then if you have the time, help this commissioner out,
no,
designated for commissioners,
designated.
for the
and
commissioners.
also, I mean, it's no different than any other city have. I mean,
Right.
uh, I know some of us are on various boards and doing a lot of things in the community, among other things. So I know for a fact, I know I need some assistance.
So let me just ask a couple questions. I'll just be blunt. This isn't intended as a criticism. I need help understanding, because I want to make sure that if we put this position into the organizational chart of the city, that it makes sense for that person. So if we look at bringing on a part-time legislative aide, so somebody that's going to work less than 27 hours a week, when they report to work and the commissioners don't hold office hours, who is their boss?
I guess the city manager would be.
Or
Okay.
Sunny, if they're gonna be working directly in partnership.
Yeah, she asked for an aide,
Okay.
yeah.
I was thinking.
So, and I do believe that there is some value in having someone else who's responsible for assisting the commissioners in a lot of their efforts, in affecting their job duties as an elected official. But it's a matter of kind of understanding who reports to who and, what that person's gonna do. And I think I have a pretty decent idea of some of the things that Commissioner Borum is thinking about how this person would assist, because I've seen some of the additional things that Ms. Krantz has to deal with in addition to her normal duties. So we do have in the budget, that, full-time customer service clerk and records clerk. It is quite possible, and that person is going to report to Sunny on a day-to-day basis, and ultimately they both report up to the city manager. It is quite possible that that additional staff person, would be able to take on those responsibilities. Now, rather than creating a hyphenated, 3 different title position, we could just look at that job description and make sure that we provide enough detail and enough time that they understand that their role, in addition to answering phones and helping the clerk with records, is to assist the commissioners. So helping with scheduling, meeting with constituents from the public, helping to set up meetings with different stakeholder groups, scheduling to go to civic organizations and to conferences. You think that may accomplish what you're looking for?
Yeah.
I think that's a tap. And this is me.
Hard as I know, Fort Myers, is modeled after that, Miramar,
North Miami.
North Miami. They got a number of different, cities that already have those things in place, for the commissioners, and we just slow coming on board. We've been trying to do that all on our own, so thank you, sir.
Commissioner Campbell?
I'd like to just kind of comment on what Jonathan just spoke about. And I'm somewhat against that. And just hearing where we are or hearing where we have been with the answering of phones and all of those additional things in the record retention, I think that's a job, enough job for someone to actually do. I would like to see someone that's solely dedicated to the commission and to the needs of the commission versus having someone that's dibbling and dabbling here and there. What are we going to do when they have those busy spells or those busy moments? I personally, and again, this is just me, I would like to see someone that's solely dedicated to the commission and that is their job, is anything that we ask them to do within reason.
That's correct. I mean, that's what I was saying. That's why I said we wanted to model it after North Miami, Fort Myers and stuff. So you're absolutely right, Commissioner.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Campbell saying it should be an entirely separate position from the one currently.
Well, they can, yeah, I mean,
That's what I thought,
Right.
that was what he was saying. but
Right,
I'm not
right.
saying that's what you said. Yeah.
Where would this person be housed?
I have no idea.
I
Also, we
think,
have a balanced budget.
I think there's a whole lot of transition that's taking place. So I don't think that's a question that necessarily has to be answered at this moment with the transitioning of, because we're not even housed anywhere. So the question would be at this moment to allocate that position, and then with the with the moving of over to Jenkins and the possibility of us having some kind of office unit amongst ourselves or something of that nature, I think that's where that conversation would be able to be a little bit more better. But at this moment, I think that's an irrelevant question.
We can make it work. We have a balanced budget. So if it's something you all want to see in the budget, I would suggest you identify another area for us to cut approximately $30,000 to $40,000.
We got it right here, $58,992 up on those commissioner interns. It's
But
there.
then you'd lose those interns. Commissioner Campbell, you're not talking about the budget that currently exists for the interns that's on the screen now. You're not talking about that. Are you cutting that to accommodate this position or fund this
He
position?
didn't say cut. He said cut.
No, I'm asking Commissioner, because I thought the interns were kind of Commissioner Campbell's
We
suggestion for
we
your van.
passed that until I just said, let's go back to it. So
Right, I understand that.
the question is, we went from 20,000 budgeted last year to 54,000. So
Right, for the- to have-
the intern program went with 20,000. So we have an additional $34,000. So you tell me that
I'm telling you,
that's a lot of.
no, all I'm saying is that I understood Commissioner Campbell requested to have interns have at least a couple year round, not just for the summer. And that's what that additional funding was for. And I was just asking Commissioner Campbell, because that was his recommendation, if that was his thought, that it would be pulled from that funding. That's what I was
Okay.
asking, okay? And
I mean,
Commissioner
at this point, I would be willing to sacrifice that in order to properly get Sunny the help that she could and the commission the help that we so deserve. So I would be willing to make that compromise.
we're just trying to move along and keep the balanced budget. Okay, thank you.
Good catch, Commissioner Bourne and Kim.
Yeah, that's-
Aye.
Okay,
Mhm.
and that would be in the same commission budget. Okay. Thank you. So can we move on to page 3? Cultural arts.
So what?
Just basically, we've incorporated all that we understood from the directors, the director and the guidance of the commissioners. And so the total on page 4 for cultural arts is 231,000. City Hall starts on page 4. And the budget this year is 73,000 for City Hall. City Hall legal, which is also on page 5, from the direction provided last night. The executive salary is at 155.
Hmm.
Or should that be 148?
148.
Yeah, let me, thank you for pointing that out. 148. That would be correct. City Hall admin. The total for this year is on page 6.
I'm lagging, right?
Oh, okay.
So, this, I'm back on page 4, but this is, saying about the operating, the Bronson House. The budget was,
50,000.
let's see, operating,
That was on.
it went, so it went up to 9, from 6 to 9. Actual was 92. Okay. So it dropped it, okay, for 200 and something. So the operating for that was from 22, it went up. Just trying to figure out.
And what department are you looking at?
Now I'm looking at the, was that the Bronson?
Brunson?
Operating, middle of page 4, the top section. Where it shows,
From 6,000
yeah,
and 9,000.
right, the actual was, you budgeted 6,000 and it was 9,000.
Right. So for this year's budget, we maintained level.
But did we understand why it went from 20, it's a third, it went up a third.
And that's from 2022. That information was used to prepare 2023 budget.
Right. But
So
you did not understand and know why it went
we can.
for a third of
Is
the
there one
amount.
here that?
Are we talking about the maintenance line?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was in the operating budget.
I can't see that on the screen, Tony.
Okay. I can look up there.
It went up,
Can you tell me what page you're
was
on,
this,
Madam
was
Mayor?
that just a factor?
We'd have to pull the specific
Okay.
GL history report. from
Okay.
Tell you what those expenditures are.
All right, we'll keep moving, and I just want to see, understand like what, if it was certain things that was causing these lines.
Well, I can tell you, when you look at lines like the operating and the maintenance for our buildings, we have underfunded them for years.
And you can see that when you look
And
at
it's,
them.
it's,
That's the
we're-
evidence.
it's starting to catch up with us.
All right, well, we'll look at it further. I mean, I just was asking a quick question
Okay, so on page 5, we're looking at City Hall administration. And also, City Hall administration. And when you compare 2023 budget to 2024 budget, there's an increase with the liability insurance on page 6, where it goes from 255,000.
So Ms. Cardy, you have a wonderful staff, by the way, and they must be watching the workshop. So Jacqueline Pappas just messaged me. She looked into that GL line for us.
Yes.
It's primarily increased from Florida Power or Light, Advanced Security and Gas Authority. So it's primarily utility cost that's gone up.
Wow, okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you. And you're right, they do watch while we're here.
Mhm.
Yes, they do. On page 6, I think notably is the insurance that we're all aware. And stuff like pretty much with property. The Blue Crab Festival, the budget is 50, last year was 75.
Oh, it's showing, it's showing here, oh, we got two lines like blue crap. Oh, that's just the entertainment. So did we split it out or something?
Well, what you're looking at on page 5,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, you're looking at like the prior year, like actual from the year that was 21, 22.
And it got moved, okay, so it moved,
Right.
from, okay.
Right, and then when we did 22, 23, they changed it, obviously, on page 6.
Okay.
And you see where now it's only 75,000 for the year we're physically living in right now, but for the year that's coming, the budget has decreased even further. So it's decreased from 75 to 50,000.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of pointing out highlights.
Liability insurance is double.
Yes, we do know that. And that's property insurance, that's FMIT. They come out, they've met with us, they've made us all understand. And they did explain why in the conference last week.
We better be glad we can get insurance.
That's the point, 'cause some people can't.
Insurance companies are bailing.
Yes,
Florida.
yes.
Yeah, I lost one.
If I could
I'll
add
Find
some-
another, mine lost mine.
If I could add something to that, so obviously they've experienced some losses, or we have as a group, but one of the other changes that they've made is prior to this year, and I'm probably not using the actual terminology that they use, but all of our assets were itemized. So on an annual basis, we would have to review that list of assets, make sure we're not missing anything, make sure the replacement value is accurate. It's no longer that. It's now grouped. So we don't have that risk of missing something or having something underinsured. The deductible goes up just a little bit, but now we don't have the risk of saying we forgot to put the riverfront dock on there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Not that we ever did that, just use
Right.
that as an example.
and it takes the burden off staff to having to go through the entire inventory for the entire city to try to figure out, hey, is this on there? Is this on there? Is that on there? We had Fort Myers who lost everything. So when they went to their insurance and they looked, they did not, they thought they had everything, but they did not. And the insurance that they had 1 million coverage. And guess what? When they when the disaster hit the building, just say for instance, City Hall was worth 1 million, then they would only be able to get the 1 million. They wouldn't get the value to replace the building for a total disaster. So those are the kind of things that you need to make sure we're looking at. And with the new coverage that we have, it makes sure you're covered in total and in full. So thank you for understanding that.
So continuing on page 8, we started from, well, this is recreation. That we're looking at. And, pretty much comparable to last year. They do have staff that they explain,
Additional.
the presentation and so forth. And again, the purpose today is to just give you a last minute look at it. On page 8, we do have that capital improvement item there. The description is not there because I needed to insert. Okay. But someone is here, recreation, that can speak on it, if you remember that 164. Remember what it is. Oh, Eddie's house. Page 8. So we do have that 164,500 for recreation.
Do you remember, Doe?
That's just a blank line.
Yeah.
No, that's me making sure I get it in because when I do the uploading.
If I remember correctly, we
That's the
were
roof, isn't it?
for carry forward, correct?
Yeah.
That was awarded this year
That's the
based on
The next door.
not being able to move their staff out of that building right now. We're anticipating completing that
Mhm.
project
The annex.
next fiscal year, not this fiscal year now.
Okay,
That's the award amount for the roof replacement.
that's the annex roof, next door's roof.
The 6450 or 6400?
That's $164,000.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
That's 6450.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Top of page.
from a roof. Okay.
That's what I wrote.
164,000.
Okay, we just gotta write that in.
Yeah,
Yes.
annex roof.
I wrote it too.
That's from the brand new roof, right?
Yes, sir, it will.
With the warranty.
So,
With the warranty.
next section is the police department, and that's from page 8 through page 11.
That's a lot of pages.
So, the police department, that's part of it. Their
Do you
costs
wanna-
did not increase significantly though when compared to a year.
So that's 3 pages. The manager, do you want to at least reduce one by 1 page? You still have two. You have more than.
I think Jason and them, they like their line items.
Okay.
They got a line item for everything.
And thank you for doing that, Chief. Very easy,
transparent.
very easy on the eyes, and I like that.
This ain't got a line for everything.
So if they were to say like, what's the reason for their change in cost? A good portion seems to be just for salaries, even though they demand these people, but just the fact that, and even the health and life insurance, you know, vehicle purchases. The fire is next, and that starts on page 11. Fire hands on page 13.
Chief, well, I'm not gonna ask that.
So, with the fire, their cost is, their salary costs did increase. So the largest increase though is in their clerical where they have that new position. Pretty much. It kind of went from, budget, 33 last year to 71.
Where are you?
On page 11,
Page 11 right here.
fire,
So
I see fire, but where?
clerical salaries right here.
right
Okay,
there.
clerical, okay.
Where, clerical salaries went from 33,000 to 71.
And that's one salary, I mean, one
That's not
additional.
one person. Their health and life insurance, well, no, it's actually the pension costs, you know. We have to check that out to be sure about that and start there.
So related to the fire budget, I'll do my best to kind of describe what Chief Taylor, Ms. Cardy, and I have been talking about. While this is fresh on everyone's minds as we move into the next couple months, we really want to look closer at the assessment and the ad valorem tax revenue portion and how it's apportioned to all the different customers. So simply, you got 50% is covered by your fire assessment, another 50% by the ad valorem tax. And in theory, when you decrease the ad valorem tax amount, it reapportions or redistributes more equitably to all the different users on the fire assessment. But I don't think anybody's looked at it for some time to see a side-by-side comparison of what that means for specific taxpayers. So we've had some conversations about when we get through this, getting with Mark Lawson and actually looking to see, what our options are for next year and kind of getting ahead of the curve rather than waiting until the budget process. And really, it's just for more research to have a better understanding for ourselves and for the commission. So just wanted to put that out there for you.
I think it's a good idea.
So we're moving on to streets on page 13. And their total this year on page 14 is 1,388,000, and it did increase compared to last year.
Well, we went through fire pretty quick. Let's see some. Let's see. Hold on.
Yes, sir. I will go back.
What page?
No, I was just looking at, I thought I saw something like it went, or it was for another department or something, okay.
Well, I look at capital outlay for 2023 budget was 165,000, and there's nothing budgeted for this year. So. This is.
So we had to make some cuts. They're going to be looking at getting some USDA grants on the books to go after some additional engines and vehicles. If they're successful in securing those grants, it is quite possible that we'll be back before the commission sometime mid-year and either, pulling down those grant funds then or scheduling for the next fiscal year. They have been putting aside about 22,000 a year in a fire contingency reserve line, which shows up a little bit farther down in the budget. And that's kind of like that rainy day savings fund for replacing these assets. So they do have some capital set aside. I think it's 88 is what we budgeted total. But if they're successful in securing those grants, it's quite possible that we'll be back before you looking to pull money from reserves or from Better Place or from an outer year to do some replacement. But we had to balance.
To the fire department credit, last year budget was 3,267,000. So they did not increase their budget. Even though they did manage to add at least one personnel, administrative assistant to the fire marshal. So on page 13, we're on streets. The budget for this year, 1,388,000. Their budget did increase streets. So really looking at, this budget includes that part-time for the 4 people part-time, the 26 weeks. I think there's another situation in streets, but anyway, the tree maintenance has increased from 20,000 in the middle of page 13.
Okay, building maintenance. I see it's only $800 in the building maintenance. Yeah.
What page, please?
Okay, so we got about 4,000 in this year's budget. So for building maintenance, I'm just wondering why it was so little in the. for building.
Historically, that's one of those lines that was underfunded, and while we're currently occupying the space, there's repairs and replacements of the well, not even mini splits, window units and doors, things of that nature that we're trying to outline for next fiscal year.
Is $4,000?
So across all the departments, a portion of that is spread amongst all 7 divisions. Yes, we've accounted for the projects that need to take place, but apportioning that total amount across all of the divisions.
Okay.
So the line for street improvements. I can't see what the other stuff says. I think BPF. Line number 6440.
Street improvements.
I don't think it's on.
There's
this sheet.
nothing funded.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Right, nor last year. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what we got.
I think you got to scroll down slightly.
for 3 years. that's not been
There,
funded.
so you should be able to see it right there.
There should be some in that line. every year.
6440.
Yes, there should be.
That was the point we were trying to make last night.
Okay. So, it's a. I'd like to move on to cemetery. Oh, yeah, we're questioning street.
No, the stormwater maintenance and, so, yeah, like you said, it wasn't anything, so there is something there now.
No, there's nothing there.
No, it's not.
I'm saying stormwater maintenance. See,
Stormwater maintenance.
okay, yeah, but.
The sidewalk.
Oh, I know where he's looking up in the middle of the top of the page on page 14.
The storm cleanup and repair, so we need, what need to go in there?
467.
Well, I mean, what would you, well, I had 1,500 in there.
Okay. Hold on, so you're talking about line item 4680?
Yeah,
Okay, storm cleanup repair is after a named storm. We do not budget for those.
Okay.
It's just that when we have the expense, it's easy to
Right.
track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
2022.
okay, so you
Yes, sir.
roll backwards. Okay,
6440.
64.
Has not been funded in 2022, 2023,
Okay,
and it's
so,
not funded this year either.
so again, I'm gonna put Dell on the spot and I'm gonna ask him to remember the amount down to the cent. But one of his assignments this year was looking at what we should be funding on an annual basis to replace the streets. So as streets come up, how much should you have in the bank account to resurface or reconstruct? So
On an annual basis, roughly $7 million,
you don't remember to the cents?
$684,482.10. It was a very large number. And the point is that historically, we've never funded that.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Am I on the right slide?
Yes, you are. So again, if we could get anywhere near that, that'd be great. But the only way to do that is to take from your reserves or to cut from other areas. Now, you could tell us when you go through the process next week and you're double checking everything and you're rebalancing, if there's any extra, this would be one of those areas where we'd like you to put something and report back, just a suggestion. But you do have money in your Better Place Fund to do some of those streets projects until such time that you can start building this line up.
Well, what will it take to have an ongoing assessment and improvement program that you're doing? You're not gonna get the 7 million, of course, but to have that initiative where there's problem areas, you have to at least attend to them.
So
And
this.
we could do it versus saying we don't have the money, and that taxpayers don't want to hear that.
Correct. And I think we spoke about that last night as well. In order to have any reasonable effect on a project like that, it's roughly $1 million. In this fiscal year, we did in professional services allocate some funding for like a surveying, basically to reassess our remaining service life of our assets to get a better picture of that, of those costs coming forward so that we can build you kind of a roadmap of areas that need to be addressed and the dollar figures associated with it.
Hey, I understand the sophistication of, someone with high engineer, or whatever, come and tell us that road need to be fixed, but when we see it and we know it need to be fixed, somehow kind of way think that cost is spent unnecessary. We know it need to be fixed. Now, if they have to come and tell us what to do and how to do it, I understand, but to just tell us it need to be fixed, I think it's a cost not well spent.
Portion of that is to determine the actual cost of what it would take to replace.
So, like the city manager said, he gave a direction for getting that cost. I think we had some roads that I think were like 18 streets, and I know we probably can't tackle all roads, but we need to put something in there to be able to start on that project. And and even if keep saying this and it sound like a broken record, but even if we have to do the stormwater projects in 2 separate areas at one time to make sure that, okay, we're going in, we may as well go ahead and fix the infrastructure and then resurface, and it may be a separate project than what you have on the books, but it need to be done. So it's not a waste, it's actually going in, it's just a different type of project.
All right. I would love to figure this out, so I'm just gonna propose something. I'm a big proponent for us actually putting aside some money to address our failing infrastructure. So there's only a couple ways to do this. One is you can go on hope, and when Ms. Cardy and I go through it next week, maybe we find some extra money, which I doubt we can assign to it. The other is you look at this list and you say, Mr. City Manager, this Finance Director, if it's really a priority, we'd be willing to give up these items to make it happen. I'm not saying you gotta do that today, but you gotta do it soon. We're filling up funding buckets, and if that's a funding bucket you want filled up, you gotta take some out of another bucket.
Keep working from this list.
Well, let me ask the commission, were we aware that we hadn't been funding, street improvement project?
I wasn't aware that, in terms of, we were doing streets as it relates to certain things, but not per se, just having a specific fund. I wasn't aware that we didn't have anything.
But I think it's all of our desire.
Yes.
I haven't been here long enough and had the experience you all have, but I have heard that repeatedly throughout this process, that we have not set aside funding for capital improvements of any sort, whether it's street infrastructure, buildings, etc. I mean, I've heard that reiterated several times. Yeah, so I have heard that now.
So we would like to go ahead and try to at least figure out a way, and if something has to change on this sheet here in order to.
We just
Make
added a position 2 that we took out of, well, we didn't add it, was with the interns and we gave it to us, so to speak. So we'd have an assistant. That's an easy sacrifice.
Number, Main Street Manager.
That's TIP money, it's different funding,
But
it's different funding, but you want to do what you want to do, that's fine.
But that's actually a good point, because if you're looking at the sheet, you really need to focus on the first page. Those are all general fund items. So anything on the back page, if you cut it, would not have an impact on the general fund.
Yeah, we just want to know how much, what would be the funding amount that would be a good place? You said, I think you mentioned 50,000 the other day.
Well, but you can't do anything this year with 50,000. You want to do.
You said 3 to 1. We'll get 3 to 1. That's what we normally look for when we get the grants. 3 to 1. So we started out, I think you said 50,000. That would give us 100,000 plus.
We need some real money.
Yeah, but whatever
Some real money.
you don't think we need to try to at least try to have a target to go after. Instead of targeting our intern, you know.
So,
Well, I see you're gonna target another department's needs. That's, I'm asking.
Look at what, you know. Mayor said cut to 80.
It's not a
You
lot
got
of
this?
big items on that list anymore.
Okay, that's right, that's
The roof replacement has already been cut.
I know one area. The water tower. $310,000.
That won't have an impact on the general fund.
right. Yeah, so we can make sure.
Yeah, so just focus on the first page.
Okay, first page, not the second page where the total is, right?
Correct, just focus on the first page. Yep.
I don't know, yeah, yeah.
We're running pretty tight, so it's hard.
Well, you got a tough task, city.
It's called passing the buck.
But there it is. That's what we're trying to do.
Well,
That was easy.
let me say this so that we don't kind of walk out here with our heads hung low. So, but we do have a lot of grant projects and appropriation projects that are in overlapping areas. And it is going to take a while on some of those to have the money hit the street, literally speaking. But there's some projects that are happening next year, and you've set aside some funding in Better Place that can be spent quicker than the grant and appropriations dollars. You got a little shy of $1 million there for a project. You're aware now of the shortfall. We made a comment about the airport trending in the right direction. And if that transfer reduces going from this fiscal year to next fiscal year, if you consider the fire assessment and what reallocating some of those fire costs to the assessment would mean for an ad valorem reduction and an increase to potentially these capital projects, maybe this isn't the year where you actually get to fund those lines sufficiently. But our actions this year target getting some money in there next year. I know that maybe what everybody doesn't want to hear, but that's kind of the reality of the situation.
We did place 42,000 there.
Start.
Okay.
It's not that I said that.
We got 42,000 worth.
On page 14.
Here's the problem that as an elected official that's up here, and I hear, and I don't know if you guys have the same concerns from constituent, that we spent $2 million doing the sidewalk project, which the money could have come from a different pot, but we haven't spent that type of money on roads. So when we try to answer that question, how does that feel answering that question? It doesn't feel good saying, well, we as a commission didn't allocate or put money in the department so that it could do their job. That's how I feel about it here. I don't know how you don't address the folk that ask you that question. That's a valid question that they're asking us. So this commissioner wanted to bring it out during this time when it's appropriate to try to get some funding in there to get some movements on these streets. So I didn't want this opportunity to pass without at least addressing it and everybody have their opportunity to speak on trying to fund it, trying to put some funds in those areas. To do the best we can, but doing nothing is not the answer. That's it.
I mean, what is asked, what would be a recommended amount to try and put there, and how will we get the funding in there, how would we get it? If we just limit to this without hitting anything critical.
This conversation is getting quite complex. But it's fairly simple. I mean, the only way to do it is you either increase your revenues or you cut your expenses somewhere else. Most of your departments have done a very good job of maintaining their expense levels outside of kind of unexpected capital projects. Even in light of energy costs and liability insurance increases. So to answer your question, Commissioner Borum, the finance director said we got 42,000 in there. That's a start. I got a note down here that says increase roads capital if possible. That will be our charge over the next week. And I think it'll be our charge over the next year. And I think that's all you can really do right now, short of cutting services elsewhere.
Right, so we had nothing before, we have put funds in there. Again, that is a start, and we just need to build from there.
Yes, sir.
Short of increasing taxes.
Yeah, and you've set the tentative millage, so we know the expected increase in ad valorem tax. You have one of our first work products that you've asked for is the pie chart that shows how the tax dollars are being allocated by department. We know we're going to accomplish that in the next week or so, get that to you. You know, as ad valorem goes up and other revenue streams go up, if you don't look at cutting services in other departments, you can maintain and increase in those other departments that you want to see. And that just happens over the course of a couple of years. It's kind of hard to do that in 1 year.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Ms. Hodges, thank you. I'm sorry, no, that's
No
okay.
matter. I just would like to have your take on it. I would like to have.
I'm listening because I haven't been here for the bulk of this is the first time around. Let me finish my sentence, please. Okay, because you will give me that look. That I'm growing used to. My take on it, I want to give staff the opportunity of a week or so to see if there's any other way. Whatever we do, there's gonna have to be some, if there isn't, some severe cuts, and we all have to acknowledge that if we want to build up this reserve for the roads. So I want to give them the opportunity to come back with any suggestions after reviewing everything, any further suggestions. But if we really want to move forward and begin this, we will have to make some cuts somewhere.
Or increase the ad valorem tax.
Well, yeah, but
That's the only way you're gonna get it.
didn't we set the millage rate already?
You set the tentative millage rate.
Okay.
That's the tentative.
Okay. Well, and I think that, again, Ms. Cotty gave us a projection of different millage rates going up higher, and yeah, so
You
we
want
can-
another suggestion? We can have a fire sale. We got plenty of buildings.
I was actually you want to see my
That's
notes?
a joke. I'm sorry.
I had a note on that, but anyway,
There are some options and I will be considering it.
so that was my take on it, that we need, yeah, but we're gonna probably have to make some, I'm willing to do that. Even though it stinks.
Continue.
Yes, please.
Page 14, cemetery. And on page 15, the total for the year is 152,000. Excuse me,
So
it has increased, that's all. Probably two main reasons, tree removal.
Do we have to have the 30 in there for the tree removal, or can we keep it flat and still get something? I mean, are there critical trees that need to be, critical trees need to be moved?
There are, and unfortunately, it's the few trees that are increasing in the cost, specifically in Westview. In order to remove them, we've got to use a crane and hoist down every individual piece. And it's a fairly large crane, just because of the proximity of the graves, we don't want to damage any of them. We also have some boundary trees at the other cemeteries that are at risk of falling off of our property, and those are liability issues we want to take care of as quickly as possible.
So that goes from, yeah, that's the more than all going from.
Correct.
So labor and
To 84,000.
And that will be amended this fiscal year. It was a contract that was awarded a few years ago. It was just never reflected in the budget.
So how down pay?
We've been pulling from lines all over the place.
I mean,
So when the award was made, you had the same amount budgeted in other turf maintenance or facility maintenance lines in the general fund. So it's a net zero impact on the general fund. What Dell is reflecting here is it's just in the proper department now.
Okay.
More of a housekeeping item than it is an increase.
Okay. We did have a contract, there was a contract on that, I don't know what land was in, yeah.
Yeah, we're going on, I think, third year now, right?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Okay, yes.
budget wise, I was just wondering, how does that happen? And how do you say it's housekeeping, but. I don't understand. Can you help me understand?
What they're saying, what's being said is that the contract was executed. The budgeting was not placed in cemetery. So that budget amount was placed in another line that is also contractual services, or maintenance. So now, for this year, it's being pointed out that this is where it needs to be. One of the things that I can do for the year we're living in is make sure that we move it from where it is and put it in this line as it should be. So it'll be like moving from one section of the budget to another in the same fund.
So being no county experience. So tell me, where, when we see this 84,000 in other line,
I will get that for you. I don't know it at this moment, but I will have.
shouldn't we be able to see it?
Don't miss it. It's here.
If I'm, do you understand what I'm asking?
Right,
What I'm asking?
it
So
should
if-
have had maybe a descriptor saying, hey,
Right.
transferred from whatever account, so you could tie the account.
So I'm looking for where the money coming from.
So what I will do, I will make sure it was by Monday. I can answer this for you,
Or where it was.
where it's being paid from.
Right.
Exactly.
Before and where it's moving to now.
Exactly,
Address is address foreign.
right. And I will make sure that we call it, but I did have it as the note also, when you pointed it out. The next item would be parts, starting at the bottom of page 15. And their total for the year, 571,000. The parts. They have 23 budget right there, you have 22 budget. You know, you can see that, compared to last year, where the salaries have gone from 92 to 143. Positions. looking to see what their main, some of their main increases are in the maintenance area. Page 16. Seem like most of the maintenance has increased. Comparing 2023 budget to 2024 budget. Then on page 17, I'll go back if you need to, but on page 17, in 2023 budget, they had a $40,000 item, which is not reflected in 2024. That was for storm cleanup. And also, on page 17, 2023 budget had a $46,000 amount for park improvement.
Which one?
On page 17. And parks. Right, we don't have that budget this year. But for this year, we do have capital outlay of the 33,000. And also a 56,500 for capital improvements.
Was that parking, that was the park improvement for Hank Ryan? Okay.
The 56,500, if I remember correctly from the slides, would have been for an inmate van and for a trailer to haul it.
No.
Up
Park-
above,
Oh, that was
Oh.
there before.
Yeah, well, yeah, the park improvement that just came in this year's budget.
No, it's not, and this year,
23.
we don't have it.
no,
It was,
it's in
I say
23.
23.
Yeah,
It's on Christmas.
the year is still current.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was in the year that we're living in now.
Believe that was Hank Brown Park.
There's the change point.
We can look at the expense.
So we really don't have the actual yet. Right? We don't have the actual because that's just in the budget.
Right, you have the actual in the book, that you had last night with you, cause that's what I'm enrolling to even. And as I mentioned, this is the final before we generate that report. So, and when I'm looking at actual for park improvement, for this year, we have not spent anything.
Okay.
Nothing was spent.
I see the budget. No.
Which one?
I said, I see budget and budget right here, but I don't see the actual, which, that would have helped. That would have helped moving into the 24 budget, just kind of see what the actual was.
Right, but the phase that we're in right now, I would not have been able to generate that until maybe Monday.
Okay.
So this is, and you do have the last one. And here on page 39, it does actually show you the actual. On page 39. That's right. Under.
I have it up.
And she has some.
That's a blow up. I go 39. I go 30. All right. Park improvement, is it? Park improvement,
That's park improvements is on page 39.
right, okay. Oh, so it's 30.
But it didn't have that line item in it. It didn't have 46,000.
6,400.
So you see that 6310? The item that it has now, because we're living in this year, is 34,000.
Right,
But here,
What that means is that, from the original budget amount of 36,000 during the course of the year, they've had to transfer some of that money out. That's what that means. So the budget I'm using is the budget that was approved last year. But the real point of the matter is that they have not spent anything. Yeah, that's the point. Nothing has been spent. Nothing.
Budgeted but not spent.
Right,
Right.
that's from what, I mean, just looking on page 39,
Okay. I'm on 39 and we're on six.
and you got zeros. Right next to that 34,835,
Right,
it's all zeros, meaning that no money has been spent
63.
in that line.
I'm trying to.
Park improvement expense.
Get my, a lot of paper here.
So,
So that contradicted the thing.
64.
In all honesty, I'd have to look at the line. I was unaware. I know I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel right now just to make maintenance. So,
Yes, cause you thought, hey, Brian,
correct. And
See,
nothing has been.
there's nothing, and there's nothing in this line here at all. So if I look at the account number altogether, well, that's showing capital out. Oh,
6310?
what? No, I'm on, that's wrong. I'm 6410.
No, he's on page are you on this, which page are you on?
No, 39 over here.
39's over here, right,
Right,
and that's where
39
I'm
over
at.
here. We still on the parks and it was right here at 46,000 right here. 63, so, okay, it's right here. Okay, yeah, so the 46. So yeah, it shows the 46 for budget 20. And this, would this be actual?
so we do have an update because we're able to pull ADG up. If you look on the screen, she's pulling up where we're living like right now as of this moment. So as of the time that this was generated, like,
that's right.
the middle of July, there had not been anything spent. And,
The city manager has reminded me, and this is an active procurement right now. That is for the riverfront dock for improvements for the boathouse marina agreement. We have not spent that because we have not awarded that project yet. And I'm unfamiliar with the term. I know the funding, but park improvement was for that. Knowing the current procurement numbers that we got, we did not award on that. That number is inadequate and would have to be pulled next year.
So this number coming out, or so it's coming out. I'm just trying to understand the 34, was that something that was spent right there though? I mean, in terms of, was that, cause I'm trying to understand this column here, I mean, in the book, in this.
So we put $46,000 in the budget because we knew we were gonna have future expenses to fulfill the agreement with Palatka Boathouse Marina. But at the time, last year, we didn't know the full cost of those, so we just put something aside. And then there was obviously a need mid-year in June or July where we had to transfer $11,165 to address a shortfall in another line item. But Dell and them are in the procurement phase in a lot of those efforts, and it's going to come back for you probably next fiscal year or into this fiscal year.
Either at the last meeting of this fiscal year or first meeting next fiscal year.
Okay.
And when it comes forward, we'll have to look at, putting aside some money in the budget.
Correct. It was a significant expense.
Any further questions on that? Okay. Can Ms. Carter continue? We can continue.
Yeah, I just have to kind of come back on, I just gotta understand that a little bit better, but we can keep moving.
okay. On page 18 is code enforcement.
What about information technology? That's nothing there.
Information, okay, all right, good. Bottom of page 17, information technology. And on page 18, what you have there is 150,000 for professional services. And then, I guess the expectation of 32,000 in hardware purchases. And for all the various software subscriptions and licenses, 85,000, so
And-
total is 275.
And we have yet to add the IT position that will happen early next week, so this will go up. As directed last night.
So for the professional services, what we spend this year?
Right. Thank you. Yeah, put that in. You see that? Here, you got it?
The actual is $140,644.
You gonna put it in? Let me get it for you. Perfect. So close here. So, okay, oh.
So the 150 for professional services, that includes
Okay.
just their work, just the work that they do, that doesn't include the, like the other.
It does not include any hardware, sir.
Yeah. I think we can do better. We can have two full-time staff here. Working, we need to probably look at that a lot more closer in terms of what we got there, because we can, there's some money can come out of that, what we're giving them for, I guess, the amount of number of staff that we have and the support, because mainly they just do troubleshooting and do installation and projects, which if you get two people to come in and be full-time here, I think, and they could be CB certified too, I think. You get some network people can do that, I promise. Remember when Brian was here by himself, right? Look, when the Brian,
Yes, sir, but we did not have the capabilities to do the projects that we currently do. But you are correct, for that type of service.
Microphone?
right, okay, we'll keep moving, we'll keep it moving, let's roll.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Can we, get an amount to put in or? Because of the direction given?
The IT position, yes, that will be added.
We've got our notes from last night.
Leave the, okay, good. Right, so, moving on to page number, number 18 is code enforcement. And their total on the top of page 19 is 283,000. I would say there. They've increased some in, personnel funds. Salaries of about 18,000, so I think hard. The related fringe benefits. Otherwise, they kind of maintain the other expenses level-ish. Now we're at the city manager, there's no question. Page 19. Again, I'm going to check the salaries out one more time before this is really released. Or put to the format to upload into ADG. So currently, I believe that's including the city manager, assistant manager. I'm just a little bit concerned that.
I don't see what
amount
we're
went
looking at.
down
259,000.
Compared to 285.
We went down from last year and that.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm putting a note here to revisit this.
Yeah,
Why would it go down?
100%. What go down?
It went down from 284
On that line.
down to 259, so I'm concerned about that. I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
The regular salary, I understand that.
I know what that encompasses.
We took that on, I mean, PIO.
Yeah, just for the public information officer, they're in the city manager's budget.
Right.
The,
Receptionist, huh? Yes, and the receptionist.
okay, so PIO, that's the 86,000?
Do what?
Scroll back up, please.
Yeah, they.
You slow down, kind of slow down a little bit.
Twenty
That's
twenty-two budget.
the, I'm trying to keep track.
Because we didn't have it in
Right.
2022.
So now,
Wasn't budgeted. I mean, we didn't pay our whole thing. Really, 2023 was just 26,000. So,
but twenty twenty-four would include.
yeah, so that line item 1-1200.
That should be the,
What's that? Pardon me?
so my recollection is that is the public information person.
Yeah. Oh,
I know about that one. And then I believe that's on that 1200 line.
What page you on?
Oh, what page?
Nineteen.
On page 19,
All right.
page 19, city manager.
Regular salaries.
Right. And I did indicate that I'm gonna reveal again.
Actually, Ms. Jones is going to look at the personnel sheet to see what
Okay.
is comprised of those numbers real quick. So we just give her a few minutes. We
Yeah.
can call back.
Come back to it if you want to do that. or-
So we'll come back.
Cause she would have the detail. So other than that, city manager, the department does not have capital outlay. For 2023 or 2024, it did have it in 2022. Just on that point that out.
That was the vehicle purchase.
Okay,
Where? Capital outlay?
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yeah,
they don't have it.
2022.
So we didn't have it this year, but we did not have it last year either. I can move on to the city clerk, we're.
Let's say, well, start with that.
Okay,
You don't mind.
I don't.
So, oh, that was capital, so the line under capital outlay is actually capital outlay? Okay.
Yeah,
With 5,000, no labor?
I don't think we have anything.
I'm sorry.
this year.
Where are you?
That was on.
Oh, that was the one before.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that was code enforcement.
What is that line for? You just said
Okay, 645 is capital improvement.
capital improvement.
Yes, sir. That 5,000. And that's for code enforcement. Ms. Stanley talked about it yesterday. Spoke.
I'm sorry, I was reviewing what we paid.
Mhm.
And Ms. Jones is going to get that salary breakdown for that. category.
Maybe you know that. You know that.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Why would I know the answer?
You may be smart.
Well, maybe, but I don't know the answer.
Oh, you-
I'm only
Well, maybe
teasing.
that's why I didn't know.
I'm teasing you.
Just be able to think of that.
Oh, I can. Take it and give it. believe me. Okay, we can we just keep going. We do want to move forward and we will come back to.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So the city clerk,
Keep it flowing.
that's, we do have that position. I think that position was there, but wasn't filled last year. I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't there. Okay. And what's the name of it? You know? The record.
Customer service / receptionist.
Okay.
It's actually customer service clerk / records clerk now.
Records, my ad?
Yeah.
Oh, longer title, customer service / records clerk.
Sounds wrong.
No, he's here.
Okay, in the regular salaries, city manager is the PIO and the receptionist, the new position,
Okay.
receptionist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah, you directed, but still, we have not been able to make all the edits noted yet. So these are the types of
Okay,
things that
so
Ms.
that's
Cardi and I
gonna
are
be
gonna
right
catch
now.
next
It's gonna
week.
be reduced. Okay.
We can put that in the roads.
Yeah.
A little bit of help.
Yeah, we-
Well, now he wants to have it back. He's going the wrong direction. Okay, go ahead. We're still on city clerk. Are we finished with city
All
clerk?
right,
Any
city
questions?
clerk, that's where we are.
Now we're on finance.
Yeah, finance. Okay, with starting with city clerk, are we done with that?
Yes, I think so.
All right. So finance. We have the executive director, but more importantly, in our regular salaries, we are having a key employee is leaving us. And so we know that for 3 months, we will have a overlapping period, so ideally, we're hoping that we can get someone in for 3 months that we will be able to train. So that's a part of the increase of the 209.
We increased to 225. Oh, so the increase from the actual 22 to 23?
From the budget of 23 of 209
Right,
to 225.
okay.
It's for that overlap coverage.
So there's an overlap there. We may be able to reduce some of the finance department. I need to research this accounting and auditing. I think we have them in 2 places, so I'm checking that out.
Do you need to say something, Ms. Thomas?
It's nothing to do with, not a legal matter per se. In the city managers. I think in the regular salaries was the PIO, and then he had a receptionist or administrative assistant. When city manager Holmes came in, he wanted Ms. Krantz, who was at his law firm, to be his administrative assistant to move her over. When Ms. Krantz came here, she came here as the administrative assistant to the city manager. That was his personal assistance to handle activities in his office. At the suggestion of me personally, I saw the work that Ms. Krantz was doing, and I suggested that she also take on the duties of the city clerk. And so therefore, those 2 positions were combined. But there still should be some kind of administrative assistant for the city manager. Who's going to perform that function for him? Or her. That's right, or her.
We will have to figure it out.
And well, I can kind of answer.
You have that background history as to the elimination of that person in the city manager's office as an administrative assistant for the city manager.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And looking at that, understanding how that flowed, Ms. Krantz have done an exceptional job doing that, doing her duties when she got promoted to clerk. But we also added an assistant city manager for the city manager.
We did.
So I think that could answer that.
But they're not an administrator and, I mean, a clerical support person, for the lack of a, not to belittle any of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's not what the role is.
It's just a good job, create a job, and it's
It was
like,
a job that, well, no.
when you start talking about budgeting and doing the job, I think that's a good
That-
answer.
that's-
Don't give me an
yeah.
answer.
I don't necessarily agree, but we'll move on.
You're not going over.
I've agreed with you before, really, but I have. Okay, we'll go on. Are you ready, Mr. Griffith? Do you have something to say? I'm sorry.
No, and again, in helping to prepare this budget, there's a lot of sacrificing and balancing that has to happen. I can tell you in my transition from Public Works down to here, I had 2 administrative assistants down at Public Works. When I came to City Hall, I didn't have any. I was promised 1. I understood that it was needed. My services were needed at City Hall, and I made that transition willingly. I will note that I was reclassified to General Services Director, and under the salary and compensation study, my duties were consistent with an assistant city manager. So I do believe that Ms. Thomas is correct for various reasons that we do need a dedicated administrative assistant to the city manager. I myself would love to have one, but I also recognize the budget shortfalls of the city of Palatka and can make it.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Maintenance on page 21. The total department cost at the top of page 22, 517,522. So again, going back to page 21, looking comparatively at 2023 budget to 2024 budget, in the regular salaries and the executive salary, that's primary increases. And anything that's salary related. Besides that would be the professional services. And facility maintenance, professional services has gone up like budgeting wise from 497 to 15,000. And vehicle maintenance, so maintenance, as you can see, throughout the entire budget, allocating more funds to maintenance. And then finally, this year, there's a 17,000 now capital outlay.
So going back to the professional services, out of curiosity, the actual was 1567.25 in 2022. The budget was 497, 2023. Is that all the education that you actually was speaking on last night? I mean.
Actually,
have to ask.
education is covered under the education line specifically.
Okay, so professional services, those contracts?
Some of them are services from contractors. Other ones are like the engineering reports that we're getting for roofing and things like that. Other assessments, lead testing, asbestos testing and such.
So in 2022, out of curiosity again, they were not doing those kind of things?
Not to my
Nope.
knowledge.
Nothing was getting done, or it was a different way? I just want.
I wasn't here. I know things obviously had to have been getting done. They may have been done differently at different volumes. But our goal is to at least move forward in a manner that's consistent with what, I think facilities department and facilities maintenance should be, and that's along with industry standards.
Any other questions? Okay.
Human resources, is on page 22, that's where we are. And, the budget has decreased actually compared to last year. 2023 budget, even in the executive salaries. You know, but not, you know, there's a decrease. However, in the new budget, we do have 2 positions there. And even those 2 positions together is less than that one amount that was in the 2023 budget. Otherwise, the department is pretty level. If anything, the cost has decreased in this department. Vice Martin, if there's no question.
Let me look at this a little bit.
Price Martin is 28,100 for the year. So we started at the bottom of 22 and end of 23.
So who's the executive salary for the five one?
There is no
There is no
salary.
executive
for Price Martin.
They got executive salary.
No, no, that's under human resources.
Oh,
So that's human resources. It's all good.
okay.
I'm sitting at the office.
I stepped it up. I'm like, wow.
Yes, sir. Human resources, that's what I was pointing out. That,
You can tell I'm getting tired.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you. So we're on page number 23. We're looking at boarded taxi. That cost us 56,000 for this year. That's very similar. It's actually a little bit lower than last year's budget. If you look at it. You know, when I added up last year's budget, was like 67,000 for boarded taxi, but that's because they had that 20,000 in professional services. They don't have that this year. But then this year, we kind of like really increased the maintenance for the riverboat.
Really, yeah.
And now I'll move on to Jenkins, if there's no question. Jenkins gym. For the year is 62,600, is pretty level. The slight increase, well, there is an increase of about 15,000 more in building maintenance, yes, sir.
Why would that be? We're about to put about $800,000 in there right now to harden it and make it ready.
Those are for some of the improvements that aren't covered by the grant, so mainly aesthetic and audio visual improvements. The grant won't cover that. It's an opportune time just to kind of make those improvements as well.
General fund finance, transfers, this is an area that I'm gonna be looking at, making sure that it's tight. But this is where I am as of the moment, from general fund to TIF, that's, you know, related to, property millage. And, right, like I see an area right now, I just glanced at something, I see that number has changed since this morning. So I'll have to correct that. And that's the kind of things that have to be done before I upload to ADG, just one more review. Again, though, the important part of this is the airport fund. There you can see that the transfer was reduced from that 459,000 to 394,000 on page 23.
Educate me about the transfer of tip. 285 9 this year, and then now 346, 243.
Yes, sir. So like when we are in that trim process, And the millage rate is calculated and determined. There's also another effort that has to be done during that process.
Okay.
And it is to determine the amount of payment that will come to the CRA TIF program from both the county and the city. So what you're seeing here is the cumulative number for all three districts that the city has to pay to TIF.
So the bridge,
That 346,000. That's the cumulative amount. Mhm. And because the millage, the property value went up, then the amount that we pay out is increased. Yes, sir. That 20,000 is not correct. I do know the correct number. I just need to put it in there. It is reduced. The amount that amount has been reduced to about, and that's not, the golf fund to about 62,000, something like that.
it's reduced from 120.
Yes, sir. The final number as of this moment, I just need to put it in.
You said it can be
She's gonna
reduced
vote.
to 60,000?
Yeah.
It's gonna be reduced to about 60-something thousand, and you have the amount.
Almost 50%.
Just haven't had a chance to update it, but yeah. On page 24,
Get some of the money back.
and that's another part where we're making sure that we look at that general fund contingency. Well, we have not budgeted it actually in 2023. We are looking at it for 2024. That's one of the final steps that I'm doing. That's why I didn't want to upload to ADG. We have a few things we need to finish. And for the general fund reserves, we've cumulatively it's 3,074,000. And the portion, just making certain that we meet the desired goal of 17%. We're actually meeting it with the general fund reserves at the rate of about 19 to 20%. And so now we're starting the airport on page 24. The loans most of the loans are not here anymore. I believe only that vehicle loan is here. So on page 25, airport. So we're comparing budget 2023 to budget 2024. And what we're looking at is mainly the increment for the step and COLA, not an actual position. I think that someone changed from part-time to full-time, I'm not sure. Again, the payroll-related expenses are increasing. Like last year, they budgeted 43,000 for retirement. And this year it's 87.
Credit card fees is high. Why are they so high? It's part of a lot of fees.
Like, so for retirement, for instance, last year they budgeted 43,000. I'm looking at page 45 of the book. Yeah, last night, the big black one.
Yeah, we was on airport, we was on
Yeah.
airport.
Right, you're doing airport, and page, I was on page 45 of my black book.
Okay.
I have to let you have the black book.
45.
Something like that, you know, year to date projection, or like that. And you'll see that retirement for 2022-23 budget, it was budgeted for 43,000.
You said retirement?
Right, I think that's what we want to kind of glance at that.
No. I was glancing at the credit card fees.
He was really glancing.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get there. Oh, there you go. Okay, great. Credit card fees.
Yeah, but you've got 650,000 in fuel revenue and then another 300,000 in hangar rental. I mean, how much of that revenue goes through your credit card machine?
The bulk of it. So essentially, we are a gas station for aircraft. Okay, so, we're self-serve. We also do mobile service. Those fees are obviously put on by our fuel provider. I'm glad you brought that up because there's opportunity to try to reduce that, if you're part of different corporate programs and those kind of things. But that's something that we need to get additional information on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. I mean, if you're working on it or whatever.
Sure.
So.
Right.
And you kind of help guide us through the process of how we can, make improvements if we can.
Absolutely.
All right.
Any other questions on airport? The top of page 28. Excuse me, top of page 28. Airport departmental is 4,340,000. Down by and the good news is that last year, their budget was 4,313,000. So they have actually managed to kind of keep their cost budgetary kind of level. TIP will be the next one. And we've gone over this already, so I don't know if you want to go over it again.
I don't think we're going to go.
No. Yeah, so let's go to page 31, please. Okay. And starting on page 31 is water. That's good, the administration when it says somebody. So anyway, the executive has increased. And regular's not too much of an increase. So you see everything related to personnel goes up. We go on page 32. Basically, the rest of the cost is pretty level except for electricity. Their costs, they actually are spending quite a bit. Last year budget was a lot of it's increased from the 1/3 to the year to 157. So. Okay. The capital outlay, because a lot of it is related to grants. I believe. But if you look, last year, it was 1,488,000 for the carbon filters. This year it's only 330,000.
We did something with that with the ARPA money that was like a little bit in the ARPA column.
You did, yes, Commissioner, and you're gonna see in all of these departments, this is actually a great story. This is one of the departments where over the past few years, we have been able to get those capital outlay and capital improvement lines up, so. You've seen the capital projects come before you for updates and approval, and you're gonna see more over the next few years.
Moving on to wastewater reclamation facility. The executive salary has an increase. At the bottom of page 32.
This one, supervisor.
The wastewater plant has an existing assistant superintendent that was created this year. And what we're doing this year, or in the proposed year, is we're adding a mechanic back on. That's under the regular salaries line. That's why you see that increase there. And you see the increase between the 2 years in the executive salaries because we had one person move from regular salaries to executive salaries. So now we have a plant superintendent and an assistant superintendent.
Just out of curiosity, how many staff are that?
I'm gonna estimate. I believe it's 10, but we'll see how good my memory.
Is that the one by Moody Road?
No, sir, that's the water treatment plant. This is out off Lundy Road.
Lundy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, looking at this, department, which is a reclamation facility. At the bottom of page 33, you'll see that there's an increased amount for chemicals. Otherwise, pretty level, except for electricity. And then the continuation of this department, the grants is driving a good amount of their disbursements or for the budgeting. Like for instance, last year they had this WWTP biosolids. Last year that was a $4,973,000.
Madam Mayor, if
Yeah.
I may, Matt Morris is texting me that their normal staff is 11 persons.
You're good. Report for Ms. Jones.
Ms. Jones, no, she don't have to look it up. Let me go.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so, the department total is $6,123,000. That is including capital improvements of $651,000. Some grant related activity.
That's a grant.
What's
The
that?
No, the 651 would not be grant.
What number you saying?
I'm on page 34.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. All right. Capital improvements. And the budget is $651,943.
Oh, you on water and sewer?
No.
Are you still on the?
Yeah.
Reclamation.
Okay,
Still on
we're still, okay.
Huh? Oh, I don't know how you say it.
I don't either.
Yeah. That's a big jump there. So
What is that?
that's a big jump.
So that is still short of your annual funding goal for capital outlay based upon total assets that you have there. If I recall, back in 2017 numbers, that was supposed to be in excess of $1 million. So what you'll see here is sometimes that, that improvement line, will go up from one year to another because it's not actually dedicated to a project yet. So without digging into that line, and unless Matt texts here pretty shortly, we'd have to go look at the line item for that to see if it's a combination of vehicles, if it's a bar screen project or lift station project.
Capital improvements line?
Yes,
Okay, I'll text them.
excuse me?
You want me to text them?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we can keep, I think. we
May I
should-
continue? Okay, page 34, and this is water and sewer. And water and sewer is a pretty significant department. It starts on page 34 and ends on page 38. And
What that is?
we're not smooth. No, from that 312 to the 386.
There is a request for one additional utilities training.
I'm talking about executive salary.
Oh, well,
Just
that's
see-
probably.
You don't have to.
That's
Yeah.
just probably COLA or step.
Just, no, I don't-
No, I believe it's half of Dell.
Half
And he
of
said
Dell?
last night it was the bottom half, and then Retna came in. There you go.
And someone else.
Rat.
Well, half a day, I should have went up a little bit higher than that, right?
Yeah, that's 33%. Anyway, if we would start on page 35.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so we can see that professional services has gone up. From last year. Okay, I'll back up and there's Mr. Dell.
Was there a question relating to professional services?
No, sir.
No?
Okay.
I heard the city manager. I heard the city manager says. Let's roll.
Yes, and if we look at page 36, you'll see that's like fixed assets and grant related activities, that kind of thing. These are all capital items and projects, so forth. Most funded by grants.
18 million.
And this is the amount that the grants, accountants, et cetera, with, Mandy and so forth, this is what they believe that we're going to be able to complete in this fiscal year. And then page 37 is, debt servicing, and we did put something there. I'm going to finalize that number again. So we did put, public works built in just in case. Principal and interest.
Yeah, that number will still come down.
To the 130, I think.
That's
And, the biggest item on page 37 would be that liability insurance again. Of course, the bottom of the page.
Sorry.
Increased from 118 to 294 to 49, sorry. Then on page 38, we're looking at funds that we're placing. No, this is like reserve and general fund administration. Gas Authority. And again, some of this I'm reviewing one more time to make sure.
So the reserve is going, we predict to only have 1.8 million in the reserve. Down from 3.715
So the reserve.
contingency reserve.
Yeah, from that 3,000,007. And the 1,863,000. This point.
So it's not I guess I shouldn't say it's not an accurate representation. If you look above, Sonny, will you zoom in a little bit, please? Okay, well, I'm getting dizzy again. Okay,
1,059,000.
yeah, that's what I want to point out is, that's a reserve as well. So when you total all the different reserve lines, it's not that much of a decrease. It's still lower in total, but as Ms. Cardy noted, there's a couple line items in there that still need to be decreased. Public Works, building debt service. If you went above and you looked to your capital outlay lines, when we look at reserve balances, we don't look at the percentage of total fund. We look at the percentage of your operating. So a lot of those capital outlay lines, they're a savings account as well. So it's additional cushion.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to really consider that 1.059 number in that as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll get it to 2.8.
And continuing on. If I may, to page 39. Yep. So. And then the significant item, well, there's a couple of changes actually. For golf fund, for instance, tree removal. We brought it back, not to the level that it was for this year's budget. Also, the operating lease, we noticed that have been paid off, that's that Terry or something. But we still allocated funds. Irrigation supplies, that's that number based upon what was been spent this year. The loan from 2013, that is now dropped off.
Yeah, it's a celebration right there.
Yes, sir. That 157,000, 11,095.
And that's like
There.
celebration beside it.
And on page 40. It's pretty level. Even that 78,000, that's a fixed amount of 6,000 something per month. There does not need to be a large amount for park maintenance because they're relatively new. And on page 41, the department total for golf is 184,407. That is the decrease compared to the prior year. The prior year was significantly more, it was like 376.
So that's revenue?
So that was the budget for the expenses because it also included debt servicing. So now that debt service is off, the transfer from general fund to golf is also decreased. And even the operating transfer has decreased to that 60 something. And so now we start on sanitation at the bottom of page 41.
That's a big number.
That's that 146 is that new debt servicing.
There's something new
That's
there.
that.
We'll check that out more thoroughly.
No, we didn't find it.
No, it's in the budget.
Right,
Yeah, what for what?
but it's not there last year, so that's what I mean when I said go back through it one more time.
Oh, bro, we're taking that out. Not just here. We did that.
Interesting game.
It's like the whole paid off. I will have to check that out. Top of page 42. So, you know, one of the things I do before I say done is I go back one more time and look at all of the lines, make sure.
But
Go ahead.
what did I see? 100,000 for garbage containers and dumpsters. It's usually 50,000. Now, is that the green ones,
It's actually a combination of both the green plastic cans and the metal dumpsters. We've got a significant amount of metal dumpsters that just need to be replaced. And the green cans, they get consumed. I mean, we're almost out of, we ordered close to 600 this year and they're going away. And we recoup that in revenues. It's $90 a can when we replace them.
Is $90 a can to replace them?
Correct. Yes. For lost, stolen, or damaged.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay, so, thank you. On page 44. Get out to. The department total for sanitation, 3,753,718. So, things like pension, that's just me, that's not a part of the budget.
Okay.
Okay, that's just me looking at everything. None of that. And we get to better place, which is dictated by the grants themselves. So these are the grants that we are actively expecting, including city share of expenses. And I believe that total is like 12 million.
Place.
Better place at the top of page 48.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And even though, earlier, well, wait, I'm sorry. Better place, any questions on better place?
No, I can look at that later.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out with, American Rescue, even though we were looking at what do we have, where are we? But this is what we're projecting to complete in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay. And I really appreciate you all giving us an opportunity to explain things even more thoroughly. And our hope is that you will give us guidance within the next couple of days of any changes, and that way I can finalize the audit. I mean, the budget, I'm sorry. Hoping by Monday or Tuesday, please.
Yeah. I think we don't see too much. Got some homework. Adjourn.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. That's upcoming.